We're back. Welcome inside to Take It to the House. My name is Zach Robinson, and I'm here with Thatcher Patterson. We don't have Caleb or Elijah or
Or
Zach,
Zach. Yeah.
so we're just going to run the two of us today. So it's been a year, maybe like six. No, it's almost been a year because when we stopped July, was
Yeah,
it June?
yearish. It's been more than
It's
six
almost been a
months.
year. It's been more than 6 months. We'll just put
Yeah.
it at that. But how are you? You're about to graduate.
Yeah, almost graduated next week. And then working with the Salt Lake Bees right now, hopefully working with the Ogden Raptors later.
Ooh,
Coaching soccer, living life, being a Saints fan, you know. So it's
having
it's
his
been
hopes
a
up.
yeah, oh my gosh. And to be torn down. And like the last couple of weeks as a Saints fan have been crazy. So
I agree with
but
you.
yeah, I mean, it's like first thing we hear Derek Carr is injured and it might miss the season. Then we hear maybe he's not injured and he just wants a trade. Then we hear that he is injured, but he's making it sound worse than it is so he can be traded. Then we hear that they want Shador and it's going to be Shador. Then we hear it's not going to be Shador. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But
it's crazy.
hey, but at least the Broncos have a quarterback. Doesn't that feel nice?
Yeah, it does. But the only thing that's concerning me right now is that he did have surgery on his back
Oh,
during
did
the
he really?
offseason. Yeah, because he had some spinal fractures or something. I don't remember what the absolute diagnosis was,
Yeah.
but he had surgery, and that's kind of worrying me a little bit because
Well,
he had a phenomenal rookie year,
he did. Yeah.
and then now we don't know how his back's gonna
Right. Well, and
kind of play out.
if it weren't for Jaden Daniels, like he would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year.
The only reason that Jaden Daniels won Offensive Rookie of the Year is because he led the Commanders to an NFC Championship game, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So I think,
I think that Daniels still was better overall, but I think that Bo Nix was more consistent.
oh,
I think
100%.
I think
I
Bo Nix was more consistent and Jaden was like boom, not even bust, but like he was like had a really big week and then had a more chill week, big week, chill week. So, but no,
yeah,
good sign for the Broncos.
I think if the Commanders lost to Tampa in the first round and lost, or if even if they beat Tampa and lost to Detroit, I still think that would be a close race to Offensive Rookie of the Year
Yeah,
because
probably.
yeah, like that's the simple logic right there for
Yeah.
for that award. But we're here to do our main annual mock draft.
Yes.
I got came up with the idea of bringing back this podcast for a week. We're not back for good. We're
No, but
sorry
for the week.
for the week, unless we decide to do something else. Then that's a whole different story. But
Yeah.
we're gonna do our annual mock draft. Quick recap of the season. Eagles defeated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Kendrick Lamar had the best halftime show ever. Just kidding.
It was
That's
really
probably like
good.
top. It's top five. 100% top five. Um, Josh Allen was league MVP. Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year. Pat Surtain, Defensive Player of the Year. Jaden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year, as we were just talking about. And then Jared Verse, Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then we had Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty,
Comeback
win
player of the
Comeback
year.
Player of the Year. But other news is that the Titans are locked in on the first pick that just came out today for us. You'll be seeing this episode tomorrow, Wednesday, the 23rd, or Thursday, the 24th. Depends when Thatcher wants to upload it because he's in charge. So
It'll be hopefully out tomorrow.
hopefully out tomorrow. And then Broncos want to trade up to see if they can
Yeah,
get Genty,
I've
which
been
I'll be
seeing that.
intrigued if that actually happens because I know the Patriots are shopping that fourth pick. They might be
Yeah.
shopping that fourth pick. So, and it sounds like the Jags also want Genty. And then the Raiders are like Genty, and then they're like quarterback, and then Genty.
It's
And
super interesting too, because I've heard that there are some drafts that even have Genty falling all the way down to like nine.
yeah.
That I heard that the Broncos and Saints could be trade partners,
Hmm.
and which would be really funny because then the Saints would go right in front of the Steelers. So we'll
Yeah.
see. See how it
Yeah.
goes.
But here's just how it works. I'm going to take the even picks. Thatcher's going to take the odd picks just because our teams are
Odd and even.
on even.
Yep.
So made it simple. So, but you ready to go? Let's get into
Yeah,
this.
we're gonna do some trades. We're gonna try to keep it like semi-limited, but we want to have fun with it. Keep in mind, we will probably keep saying this throughout, but this is what we want to happen, or like what we would do, not necessarily what we think. Some of them will be both. Some of them will be just what we think. But fair warning, not all of these picks we fully believe will happen. It's what we would do if we were in charge or what we would want to happen.
Yep.
So, with that being said, let's get going. I am in charge of the Titans. So, here we go. So, the reality is this one, like, there's not much to it. Oh, let me start the draft.
Yeah, you probably
There
should.
we go.
You're in
So,
the Cardinals pick though.
there's
All
not
right, never
much
mind.
to
Sorry,
it.
go.
There's not much to it for this one. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Cam Ward is the consensus number one pick, and he's been like doing all these hints at like how his favorite receivers, Calvin Ridley, and like all that stuff. So, with that being said, I'm gonna make it easy, and we're gonna take Cam Ward with the number one overall, which means that Zach is on the clock at number two with the Cleveland Browns for Elijah Murray.
Elijah, don't hate me, please. If you ever watch this, because I know you will not. Maybe I don't know,
Uh-oh.
but this is a very tough pick, clearly, because there's been so much consensus that the Browns are going to go Shador Sanders, the Browns are going to go Travis Hunter, the Browns are going to go Abdul Carter. Oh no, the Browns are going to go Will Campbell. Like, there's no absolute like
Yeah.
where do the Browns go? Obviously, they need a quarterback. Deshaun Watson is not the answer.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's still recovering from an Achilles injury, who he just made it worse during
Yeah.
the season. Like I
I
think it was like
know a lot
December.
of Browns fans are pretty excited to have Flacco back,
hmm
including Elijah. So
Dude, Joe Flacco's the GOAT.
the one thing that you think of if you take Travis Hunter is you fill two really big needs for the Browns.
Yeah,
You get corner and you get receiver. But like Abdul Carter's still insane. And Carter and Garrett together on the same team is so scary.
yeah. But I also don't think they need a quarterback. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Shador Sanders here.
Okay. So Shador goes off the board to the Browns, which now leaves a really interesting spot for the Giants. And it's so tough because it's like, do you go Travis Hunter and fill two roles in one, or do you go Abdul Carter? Um, but for me, I feel like if Travis falls to three, you have to take him because like you could argue that Travis in a different draft would go number one.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
and I think, I don't know, for me, I think Travis matches the vibes of the Giants. He can, I don't think he's going to be too scared of the big lights in New York. And I think he's going to look good in that blue and white. So Travis Hunter goes at three to the Giants. So now here's where it gets interesting, right? We've said, I think a lot of people have been saying that the draft really starts at three because a lot of people think that it will go Ward and Hunter. And I think that's probably more how it will go. But in this draft, it's different. So pick four, you're on the clock with the Patriots. Keep in mind,
So
we can't trade with ourselves, sadly.
yeah,
So
yeah. So obviously the Patriots lost Matthew Judon,
yes.
and I think was it the preseason? Yeah, it was the preseason.
Yeah,
Like
because
preseason.
Judon
Yeah,
went to Falcons before the season started last
it was
year.
like preseason.
Yeah.
So I think this is where Abdul Carr goes
Yeah, I think especially with
because they
Vrabel.
need the yeah, especially with Variable, who is a former linebacker for the Patriots. It's crazy. And also, this is where I think the Broncos are going to try to trade to get
Yeah, and
Jensen.
I'm more than happy to let you do that. I think especially for the fun of this draft. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen because I think when you look at the situation here, you have the Broncos who are rivals with the Raiders. They don't want the pick to fall to the Raiders, and they're not going to trade with the Raiders, or the Raiders won't trade with them. So what you have to do in that case is trade right in front
Yeah.
of them. So, do you want to try to make that happen then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so
We're going to repeat last year where the Broncos had a better pick than the Raiders by one pick.
all right, so let's go. We'll go Denver. So you're going to give your one. Realistically, you're probably going to have to give your next year's one to
Yep.
get into the top five. So we'll just try. Hopefully, this is just a draft website, so hopefully it works just
Let's us.
fine. Um, and let's see. Perfect. Okay, which now means that the Denver Broncos are at
Guys are
pick
taking
five.
Ashton Yankee.
All right.
What's
The
up, brother?
Boise State running back is heading to Denver, which now means that you are back on the clock with the Raiders
Oh,
at
crap.
six, who are now pissed that they got the running back taken right in front of them.
So I know the Raiders have had some O-line issues,
Yeah.
clearly. The Broncos defense just dominated with Nick Bonito and Johnson Cooper. So, and their interior lineman is pretty good too. But,
I would
um,
say, and their defensive line always needs help too. I mean, I
mhm.
think their offensive line performed better than their defensive line.
Well, the other thing is too, you have Christian, what's his bucket? What's his last name? Christian Wilkins.
Yeah,
By the way, one of the funniest D linemen in the NFL, in my opinion.
funny dude.
That guy's hilarious.
Yeah,
But there's two different ways the Raiders can go here. I think they're going to take Will Campbell because you can't let Will like an offensive lineman that
continue to fall.
continue to fall. So I'm going to take Will Campbell here. I think Will Campbell will fill in a spot where the Raiders will need him. Obviously, you had a rookie this year with Jackson Powers, who was also a Corey Canyon, by the way. I don't know if you knew
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
um, I think that's where you just bolster your O line and then take a D lineman in the second
hmm
round.
Yeah, I like it. And Will Campbell's a stud. Shout out LSU, go Tigers. But now the Jets are on the clock, and there's a lot of things that they could do. They need a lot of help. You have Tyler Warren, you have Colson Loveland, but I think for me, I think you have to either address one of these two spots. I think you need to go and protect Justin Fields, or you need to bolster your defensive line a little bit. For me, I think I'm going to have the Jets taking Mason Graham here because I think their defense is the better side of the ball. So, and it's Aaron Glenn who just took
Yeah.
over. So I
Yep.
think with those pieces combined, I think Mason Graham is a great fit. I could see a lot of different players going there, but
Okay.
um, yeah.
Okay. This is a tough pick for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, and also keep in mind if you want me to switch to any of these so you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
just see them, let me know.
They need a lot of help. Their O line was atrocious last year for the most part. I mean, Bryce
Yeah,
Young did have to like get out of the pocket and scramble like Shador has in Colorado
right.
and Justin Fields in Pittsburgh.
And their
So
defense was pretty poo too. They're
yeah,
just not
their
great.
defense is not great. So I'm just fixing this real quick. But um there's a lot of ways the Panthers go here. A lot of people are saying, "Oh yeah, Tedoro's going to go here." Oh yeah,
Which,
Tedoroa,
yeah,
which is great. I mean, you got Thielen and John Domingo and
look
Xavier
at
Leggett, but I think that's
Jalen
a
Walker there too is a pretty interesting.
yeah. Jalen Walker, you replace Brian Burns,
Yeah,
or you get Membo,
yeah,
who's had a great year at Mizzou,
right.
or you can even go tight end. I don't even know who their tight end is right now, honestly.
Isn't it Tremble?
Oh yeah, it is. Tommy Tremble's
And he's
good.
kind of a stud.
He
Yeah,
is a stud. This is tough. I'm gonna take Jalen Walker here
I think that's the right pick.
to bolster their defense because they did lose Brian Burns last year to the Giants.
Right. Okay, awesome. I'm so stoked that you did that. So, the
Yes.
Saints are on the clock. Look, the Saints need a lot. There's no question here. Um, this is what if this is what the board looks like, there's only one pick, and I'm turning it in immediately, and it's Tyler Warren.
Woo!
Look, they can give that grade a B plus, but suck it. I don't care. Um, I think something that you really can see with Kellen Moore's offense is he really succeeds with having that great pass catching tight end. And Tyler Warren can do everything. And what would be super interesting is to see him learn from Taysom because Tyler kind of has that sort of like can do it all role. He can throw a little bit. He's good at running the ball and he's a great pass catcher. And I think for me, I think Tyler Warren's really one of the only like top five, like lock it in is going to be day one impactful star. And I think regardless if you're rolling with Spencer Rattler or if they draft a quarterback later, you want that kind of security blanket where you can just throw it to Warren and he'll get it. I think he's a guy that's really explosive, and I would be stoked if this was the pick. I'm not sure he'd make it here, but I'm stoked. Tyler Warren, number 9 to the Saints.
That was surprising.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna reach for Dart. I'm not gonna lie here.
Nah, not at 9. Especially I want Dart in general, but not at number 9. So we'll see how it
Hmm.
goes later, though.
Wow. Okay. Bears. A lot of missing pieces here. I'm gonna grab my reporter mic real quick. The Bears suck.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams sucks. We're
He's
not
poo poo.
biased. We're
He's
not
poo poo.
biased or anything.
But receiver is a need. I think they take a receiver in the second round.
Ooh, Oh, I thought you said right now. I was like,
No,
ah,
no,
you can't pass on this guy.
no. This is too far for Membo.
Yeah,
Too far.
yeah,
Their O line struggled last year. Caleb Williams, obviously, the play calling wasn't great
right. I
because
think
of
Ben Johnson's going
Eberflus.
to help anyways.
Yep. Ben Johnson runs a more pro style West Coast offense. So it's a
Mhm.
mix of run and pass.
Right,
So I think this is where Membo goes to help bolster that O line where the missing piece is because Ben Johnson's got a lot of work to do with this team. I am not gonna lie. Like
right,
just based on how they played this year, there's a lot that needs to be changed. And I think that culture change is gonna be tough. Obviously for a lot of teams who have hired a new coach.
right.
So I think this is where the Bears bolster their O line to help protect their franchise QB.
I love it. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay, Caleb, I know that you want Will Johnson, but I'm going to be real. I don't think that that's the number one need for the Niners.
I think the number one
Um,
need for the Niners is the receiver, dude.
Really, I actually disagree though, because I think that they got to start protecting their Mr. Irrelevant, especially with Trent Williams getting older and just their offensive line wasn't it. I think that was one of the struggles. And I think you take arguably could have been the number one offensive tackle anyways, in Kelvin Banks. And I think Kelvin Banks should go to the Niners, which now leaves, I think, like such an easy pick for you, especially if the Cowboys actually had this, but I'm not sure they actually do it, but I feel like you have to.
Tataroa?
Yeah, I feel like you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, I mean, the only receiver that's really known is CD Lamb, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they lost
And
Brandon
Colt,
Cooks.
yep,
They lost is Gallup gone too?
I think
I don't
so.
know, but they have really they need help.
They do. They really do. They really, really, really do. So yeah, let's go Tataroa here.
Okay.
I don't think he drops this far unless,
No. No.
and like, I think this would be a different story if Kyron Lacy was still around. Like, rest in peace to Kyron Lacy. It's hard
Yeah.
to deal with that stuff. And we hope that the Lacy family is well and we give their condolences, our condolences to them
Yeah.
as well.
I do think that like the only other spots that I could see T-Mac going though are probably the Jets or the Panthers. The Saints could take him, but I've heard that they're not as high on him as other people. But that could just be smokescreen, and they take him.
Yeah.
But I think Dallas would be thrilled to get T Mac at 12. So
Gallup is on the Commanders now.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. So okay. I'm the Dolphins at 13. They, I think, also need a lot. We've been saying that about a lot of these teams, but it makes sense because at this point, when once you start like 1 through 15, there are teams that are going to need a lot of different things. Um, this is so tough. I think that, I feel like he can only fall so far. Uh, and I think that they're gonna get rid of Jalen Ramsey, whether it's a trade for picks in the draft or whether they agreed to move on or something. But that is already gonna come to an end. And I think at that point, you might as well address your number one corner here. And I think that they take, I would say Will Johnson or Jade Barron, but I think Will Johnson, when healthy, is the best corner in the draft. Jade Barron is a really good corner, but I think you can't pass up Will Johnson here, and Will Johnson goes to the Dolphins.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, if they do move off of Jalen Ramsey, that's gonna be huge
Well, they
because then
are. I
there's
mean,
gonna be
it's already
such a
come out.
big. There's already a big market for him anyway.
Yeah, but I
It's
think it'll be
crazy.
interesting to see what they can get for him.
Oh, I agree.
So,
It's gonna be interesting. I mean, he's a little bit on the older side of age, but
yeah,
he's probably still got some worth because he
right.
did win a Super Bowl with the Rams.
Yeah.
So, all right, the Indianapolis Colts. Why do I have to pick for this team again?
I know you had them yesterday.
Yeah, by the way, we tried recording
We
yesterday.
definitely didn't do a draft yesterday.
Yeah, we definitely didn't practice this at
Yeah.
all. But see, I would have taken Warren here,
Yeah.
but since you already took him, you bozo,
I need him.
you need him. You need a lot of things.
I do need a lot of things.
Um, shoot, because their O line, they're like one of the best O lines in the league, even though
Yep.
that doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Um, I think they take Mikel, like one of the two of the best players available. I think they take Michael Williams here
Okay.
because they need to
From
bolster their edge a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I don't hate that. All right. The Falcons. Um, the Falcons obviously moving on from Kirk Cousins. Uh, drafted Michael Penix last year in like shocking fashion. They need help on their defense. They have a lot of different guys here. And, I think I'm going to kind of mix it up just a little bit. And I actually think that they go Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from
Mm-hmm.
Bama. I think he's the best linebacker in the draft. And they need help in that middle of their, right in that middle spot. And they could probably play him on the edge too if they really wanted. I know that he played a little
Yeah.
bit there in college. So Campbell's kind of a versatile sort of defensive lineman. So, might as well pick him up. Bama, stay there. And now the Cardinals go on the clock.
Yeah, they need a lot of corner help, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, who's their best corner right now? Michael Wilson?
Well, Buda Baker's a safety, right?
Yeah, Buda Baker's their safety.
Yeah.
They
They
don't
need
have a
help.
lot of
Yeah.
indelible DBs because they used to have Byron Murphy, but now he's on the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
So I think this is where Jade Barron goes.
Yeah, and I think that's a great pick. That's perfect for them. Okay. You know,
Yeah,
their
this is a tough
defense
pick. This is a
their
tough pick.
defense needs so much because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were constantly being let down by their defense last year. Um, it looks like Trey Hendrickson's probably going to be on his way out. He was asking for a trade. The team granted permission to have him seek a trade.
And Sam
Um,
Hubbard just retired as well.
yeah. So, but the thing is like I'm not in love. Shamar Stewart has all the attributes, but his production was not there. Um, Malachi Starks is a stud. But I'm gonna roll with Mike Green, that edge rusher from Marshall. I don't know if you've seen him at the Senior Bowl stuff, but he was tearing up
Yeah,
offensive linemen.
he was. He was.
So I mean that would be a nasty pick, and I think that they'd be happy with that, addressing their defensive concerns. So
Yeah, if Barron was still on the board by the time that Cincinnati
yeah,
has that pick, I would 100% take a corner because their
yes,
corners are
yes,
atrocious. Like they're
yeah.
good, but
Who's on the
they
draft?
need depth in that
Yeah,
corner.
and I think when you look at the corners that are still available right now, they probably would be reaching a little far.
Yeah. Do me a favor and go over to
Hmm.
receivers
Yeah.
because they definitely need a receiver.
Yes.
And I don't think they're going to take a Buka here
Yeah.
because they have Smith and Jibba, who's about the same size as Emeka
Yeah.
Buka. So
Yeah.
this is where I think Matthew Golden will go.
Yeah. I love it because I did this yesterday.
Yeah. I'm like, I didn't take your idea from you. I didn't take it.
No,
Okay.
I know.
Don't come at me. Okay.
But I'm
But
I'm happy that you made it on your own because I think that this is something they need.
yeah,
With
no, I 100% agree. And if Tetaroa drops that far down the draft on Thursday,
That'd
they
be
will
great.
take Tetaroa 100%. But if Denver doesn't trade up from 20, like I just did today,
Yeah.
they're probably taking Matthew Golden or Omari and Harrison. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. I love it. So I think the Bucks actually were pretty solid last year, but I definitely would say the number one thing they need is defense help. Um, and like if I'm Tampa, I'm not in love with my options here. Um, but I think that you only want to let this edge rusher and Shamar fall so far. Malachi Starks is also a very solid option, but for me, he screams Pittsburgh. That's just me.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take Shamar Stewart here because I think while the production isn't there, because he has all of the attributes, it's definitely something that you can work with and hopefully he can, figure it out. And
All right.
now you're on the clock. This is after,
The trade.
yeah,
So Evan Ingram is now a Denver Bronco.
yeah,
So a tight end is a need for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I
yeah,
don't think Colston Loveland goes past 20. So I think this is where the Jacksonville Jaguars take their tight end and Colston Loveland.
yeah. I think that's smart. And the thing is, he's a little bit smaller, so you could play him more as like a slot
Yeah.
like type of deal too.
It's like a Ben Cortez when he was playing in the NFL with the Patriots. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but he's still a big dude. He played a lot of
Exactly.
slot.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and you could say
Um,
the same thing about Gronk too. He played a lot of
yeah,
slot.
exactly. So I already gave away my pick here. Look, quarterback is the obvious need here. However, I think that a lot of the quarterback stuff is going to happen late round one slash early round two. And
Hmm.
that's where all the drama is going to start to happen. And I feel like Pittsburgh still wants to address this need. I don't, from what I've been reading, and I could be completely wrong, but like it doesn't sound like they're in love with anybody in particular. Excuse me, in particular.
You okay there, bud? You just have a stroke or something?
A little hiccup. But guess what? You thought I gave away my pick, but I didn't.
Ooh.
Because the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first round are going to shock everybody.
Oh, there he's doing that.
And they're going to draft Jalen Milrow
What?
over Jackson Dart. I have actually been seeing this one a little bit.
Okay.
I think it sounds like Tomlin likes all of Milrow's intangibles, and they really like, you know, when you see the interviews from Milrow, like it's hard to not like the guy. He has a lot of that like X factor potential. And it's just a matter of if he can live up to that potential and grow as a passer. A lot of people have compared him to Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. I think that's interesting because it's a similar style, but both of those guys were better passers coming out of college, and I think Milrow has a lot of work to do.
Hmm.
But you may not have to start him right away. You could still
Yeah.
sign Aaron Rodgers and have Rodgers play, or sign any of these other dudes. You could trade for Kenny Pickett, like whatever. So you don't necessarily have to start Milrow day one. And if you do, it's fine because he's going to be raw, and you're going to have to just let him go through it.
Yeah.
So boom, Jalen Milrow 21 over Jackson Dart.
I've also been seeing that Will Levis could potentially be traded to the
Yeah,
Steelers, and then Titans trade
that's
back into the first round,
yeah. So that's what
which
I
is
was seeing.
crazy.
Yeah, I was seeing that Levis is definitely like trade bait, but the question to me is I don't know how many people are going to want Levis, but
Hmm.
so yeah, there we go.
You want to trade up or no?
Nope,
Okay.
not yet.
I'm between Malachi Starks and a tight end here, just because safety is also a big need for the Chargers, but I also think that Mason Taylor will drop into day two for the
Yeah,
Chargers. So I think that
yeah.
this is the safe pick here is
Ooh,
Malachi Starks because Derwin James is getting old too, by the way. But
yeah,
imagine pairing Malachi Starks and Derwin James together. Like they don't need Ryan Hampton. They have Najee Harris, who just signed.
yeah,
They still have Gus Edwards. And
yeah,
I don't know about Dobbins. Dobbins, I'm not sure. But
yeah,
yeah, I think that's just a safety valve pick for the Chargers is that they take Malachi Starks and bolster that defense, especially being in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. Sorry.
yeah. I think that's super fair. Um, I don't hate it at all. I think that if he continues to fall, you might as well take him. I think Harbaugh would be really pissed off at your Colston Loveland pick 2 picks earlier,
Yeah.
because I think that if Loveland somehow makes it to 22, then he'll take Loveland for the
Hmm.
familiarity. Okay, the Packers. The Packers need a little bit of everything. There are some good players that are still on the board here, but I think something that would be good for them is to get another receiver and take Emeka Egbuka here. They could go Burden, but I think Egbuka's the better wide receiver here. Look, that's a really young receiver room, but they're starting to grow a little bit more, and they've been closer. And you have Jordan Love, who's starting another year, and giving Jordan Love another weapon never hurts. So get Emeka Egbuka to the Green Bay Packers.
I hate you.
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Were you gonna pick him right here?
No,
Okay, well then, all
I was
right.
gonna do the
Oh
same thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's another guy that you can pick there. It's okay.
yeah, there's. Um, okay, this is a tough one because the Vikings have Aaron Jones,
Yeah,
and I do think Omar Ryan Hampton would be a great pick, like great pick here for the Vikings, just to bolster their running back room. Even though Cam Akers is still on that team, I believe. But
and isn't Aaron Jones still there?
yeah, it's just that Aaron Jones is still there.
Okay, yeah.
But he's also on a 1 year deal. So I'm gonna take a reach. I think the Vikings take Omar Ryan Hampton here
Wow.
because Aaron Jones is only on a 1 year deal and he's like 32 years old, 33 years old.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Okay. The Titans, the Texans. I think it's pretty simple what they need here, personally. Uh,
Hmm.
CJ, you got to protect your franchise,
Yep.
and protecting your franchise means getting the guys who can protect your guy. And so I think that you can't let Josh Simmons continue to fall past you, and I think you got to protect CJ Stroud and take Josh Simmons here.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, because Thatcher took my pick.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Freaking bozo.
It's okay.
Um, they don't need D line. They don't need offensive line. Their offensive line is great. Stafford's been not injured pretty much. So
Right.
I'm gonna go over to receivers. Luther Burden, simple pick. They need to fill in Cooper Kupp's spot
Yeah.
because you got Puka Nakua and Tutu Atwell. Like
Devontae
that.
Adams, though, they do have
Oh,
Devontae.
I forgot about Devontae Adams.
But I think it's smart anyways, because
Yeah,
Devontae is only going to be there for a year or two. You sign up your future and you go from there.
I keep
Um,
forgetting they have Devontae.
I know it's weird,
It's
but
weird.
so all right. Well, that is the first 26 picks in the draft. We're going to take a quick break and then we will come back, wrap up round one, do a quick recap of round one, and then we'll jump into round two. So we'll be back in just a second. Okay, we're back. So totally honest, Zoom only lets us record for 40 minutes at a time.
We
Shout
lost
out
our student
University of
benefits.
Utah. So we are now back. Okay, so it's my pick at 27 for the Ravens. I think the Ravens need a lot of different things. You could go a lot of these different, there are a lot of good players here. And I think that they might reach a little bit here and go back to Notre Dame, like how they had before with uh, Hamilton.
Hmm.
And I think that they'll take over the other two safeties that are on the board. I think that they go Xavier Watts
Wow.
and get the Notre Dame band back together and yeah,
Oh,
reunite in
interesting.
Baltimore. Yeah.
Ooh, Lions is a tough one because they don't need
Yeah.
a lot. Um, huh.
Probably need defense.
Yeah, they need defense. Trying to think of their corners. Carlton Davis. Who are the corners left on the board right now? Okay.
Some
Okay.
decent ones though. I mean, Amos,
Yeah,
Bell, Harrison.
I don't think the Lions reach for a corner right now.
No, they already did
No.
before, and that bit them in
Yeah.
the butt.
Yeah, Jeff Okuda.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think they go defense
Even
here.
Not Brian Burns. Um,
Will you show me edge rushers real quick?
yeah. And what's the Bama guy's name? Why can't I remember? The corner.
Um,
You know who I'm talking about. Oh,
yeah.
there you go.
Taron Armstead?
No. Hang on, I'll find it.
Oh, they have Armstead though. And they have what's his bucket? But I'm gonna make my pick real quick here, by the way. I
Yes.
do think they're going to get James Pierce Jr. I don't think this is not a reach. They need their edge rusher, especially Hutchinson still recovering from injury. He might be good to go by regular season opening, but James Pierce and Aiden Hutchinson next to each other, holy, it's going to be a
Yeah.
nightmare. So I think that's where they take James Pierce. Yeah, I know, is it Pierce or is it Pierce?
Pierce.
Okay, it was Pierce. That's a weird. I've never. It's like Piercy.
Pierce.
I know.
Pierce. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows how it's pronounced? We'll find out. But
Oh, I was thinking the safety, Brian Branch, not the corner.
oh,
My bad.
oh yeah, because he got hurt his rookie year, huh?
Yeah.
Because that was literally the first game.
Yeah.
And we watched that together.
Yeah, that's right. So,
Jared Goof and Barbie.
yes. Love it.
I still have that
Um,
video.
okay, I like that Pierce pick. I think with him and Hutchison, that'd be pretty scary. Um, so especially with Hutchison still trying to come back, probably the best idea is to cover for him. The Commanders, they I think are similar where they don't need a lot. But I'm gonna go with Trey Amos here and
Hmm,
get them corner help because I love you, Marshawn, but when they traded for Lattimore, he was duty. And I think they need help on that back part of their defense.
agreed.
So yeah.
I think this is a no-brainer pick for the Bills. Their interior D line was not great this last
Oh,
season.
yeah.
So, Derek Harmon, welcome to the
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills, bro.
Awesome. Love it. Okay,
I feel like
sweet.
that was like the simplest pick I could have made with the
It really
Bills.
was. Yeah.
There's not a lot to
So
talk about with that pick.
yeah. So I think the Chiefs could go a bunch of different ways here. I'm looking at, D line. They need D line, but I think that they need to protect Patrick Mahomes more than anything. And I think they might reach just a little bit just in cases because they don't have a pick for a little while. And I think they go with Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon,
Hmm.
just simply because they have to protect Mahomes after losing Joe Tooney. In my scenario, I'd like to see the Saints trade up here. There are a lot of reports that the Saints want to trade back into the first round to get their quarterback. But shout out technology for not allowing us to do that for some reason. So I think that what they probably just end up doing here is they probably just go BPA and take Kenneth Grant and fortify that defensive line. I think they would like to take a safety like Emmanuel. Um, but I think that their back end of their defense was just fine. And I think you take Kenneth Grant and don't let him continue to fall.
You're not taking Jackson Dart here?
No, because
You have,
he'll go at 40.
you have a plan, don't you?
Yeah, he'll go at 40.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, let's we'll do that's the end of the first round. So I'm just gonna stop the sharing here for just a second. So we'll do a quick recap. Um, just to go quickly through the first round. So Cam Ward going one, obviously. Shador going at two to the Browns, because they need a quarterback. That's the reality. Whether they want one in the second or the first or whatever, they need a quarterback. Travis Hunter going three to the Giants. Abdul Carter falling to four to the Patriots. The Broncos trading up from pick 20 to pick 5 to pick Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. Will Campbell going to the Raiders after the Broncos skipped ahead of them. Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan, going to the Jets. Jalen Walker going to the Panthers. And then the Saints taking Penn State tight end Tyler Warren, getting another weapon for whoever's going to throw the football. Arnon Membu falling all the way to pick 10 to the Bears to protect Caleb Williams. Kelvin Banks heading to San Francisco. Controversial one there. Caleb probably doesn't like it, but they need it.
Yep.
Tetaroa falling all the way to pick 12 into Dallas's lap. Will Johnson going at 13 to the Dolphins. Michael Williams going at 14 to the Colts. Campbell, I think is it Joel Campbell? I think. I can't find his first name here. It's just Jay Campbell. Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama, going to the Falcons to fortify their defense a little bit more. Jahdae Barron falling at 16 to the Arizona Cardinals. Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall, is going to the Bengals. Matthew Golden, the Texas wide receiver, is helping out Jackson Smith and Jigba and Sam Darnold in Seattle. Shamar Stewart going to the Buccaneers at 19. Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end, is going 2 picks before Harbaugh would like to take him. And he's going 20 to the Jaguars. Jalen Milroe at 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A little bit of a shocker there, but hey, could happen. He's got all the attributes there. They just got to work on his passing, which is a little concerning for a quarterback. But Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, going to the Chargers. Emeka Egbuka is helping out Jordan Love and giving him another passing option in Green Bay. Amari and Hampton with a little bit of a surprise pick going to the Vikings at 24. Josh Simmons helping out CJ Stroud at 25 to the Texans. Luther Burden is strengthening the wide receiver room in LA to help out Stafford, covering for the Cooper Kupp loss. Even though they have Devontae Adams, it's still a good pick. Xavier Watts, the safety, going a little bit higher than most would have him, going at 27 to the Ravens. James Pierce Jr. joining Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit. Troy Amos, the Washington Commanders, are taking Troy Amos from Ole Miss. Derek Harmon is helping out the defensive line in Buffalo. Josh Carnley Jr., the offensive tackle from Oregon, is replacing Joe Tooney in Kansas City. And to wrap it all up, Kenneth Grant, the defensive lineman from Michigan, goes to the Eagles. So,
You mean the
Zach,
Saints?
no, he's going to the Eagles.
Okay.
We're pretending that trade never happened because it didn't work.
Okay.
But so, any quick thoughts on our round one?
You robbed my Mika Buka trade for the sorry, bleep.
Yeah.
Pick for the Rams.
Yeah. Yep.
But other than that, I think that was a very solid creative.
Yeah. Milroe is fun. It's just
Yeah.
a fun one.
It's a fun
And
one.
I have seen people doing that. So maybe they don't love Dart and they want the versatility and quickness of Milroe more.
I have also been seeing Dart go to 9, so
Yeah. And I don't want that. But,
I
don't
know.
worry. We'll figure it out. Okay. So we will be right back and then we will start our round two. Okay, round two. Here we go. And I was able to actually make the trade work this time. So now with Shedeur Sanders going at 2 to the Browns in this mock draft, all the Saints needed to do was just get ahead of the Giants, just to be sure. So the Saints have traded back, I mean, not back into the second round. They traded up to the 33rd pick, first pick of the second round, and they will get their guy at pick 33, and they will take Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. Look, where there's smoke, there's fire. All that we've been hearing over the last week is that the Saints love Jackson Dart. Some people have said that they really like Tyler Shuck. I really don't want that to happen. I just don't see that with Shuck. I just don't see the hype there personally.
Mhm.
But look, I think Jackson Dart's got everything you want. I think he's a little bit more Jalen Hurts than people say Jalen Milroe is.
Yeah.
I feel like he is similar passer. He's got mobility. I think he's just got to clean some things up and he'll be all right, especially playing in a dome. I think that'll help him rather than having to go play outdoors. And hopefully Kellen Moore can make him the next Jalen Hurts. So yeah, stoked if this were to happen in real life, especially walking away with Tyler Warren and Jackson Dart in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, pick from this bum team.
Yeah, which means that
Ay, ay,
now what
ay.
do they do? Because the Giants, they probably want a quarterback eventually, but they can't have one now.
I honestly think that the Giants will stick with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston this year.
Yeah,
See if they win games. If not, then they tank and grab a quarterback next year.
yeah.
They are thinking that Arch Manning is going to commit to the NFL draft next year, which I don't think is going to
I don't
happen.
think it's going to happen. I think Arch is going to stay because I've heard that he wants to play at least 2 years.
Yeah, and he's only played like what one-ish, half a year because
Not
of
even,
Ewers.
yeah.
Yeah, but um, actually, is Quinn Ewers still on the board?
Yeah.
I think the Giants go Quinn Ewers here.
You think or you want?
I don't. That's just dude. The Giants are weird, man. I think they go Quinn Ewers here.
I think they do start to panic once they realize that the quarterbacks are starting to go off the board.
Yep.
I like Ewers over a lot of those guys anyways, so
Yeah, he's really low in these ranks. That's
ah,
so. I
whoa.
thought you just did the same thing you did yesterday. Oh my
Nothing
gosh.
happened yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So I don't disagree. I like Ewers a lot. I think he's got everything that you need. I probably wouldn't take him in round 2 personally, but hey, if that's what your gut tells you, then go with what your gut. Because let's keep in mind, everybody, we don't know anything. Like, not just us. Like
We're
the
not GMs. We're not coaches.
well, and all of you who are doing mock drafts, yeah, this is the big board overall, but each team has their own big board.
Yep.
Shador could be number 7 on here, but on the Saints board, he could be number 40, right? Like teams evaluate players differently and the boards are different. So I think Ewers going to the Giants, like, great, that's awesome.
Yeah. And who
And
knows?
I
Like
think he's
Jameis.
a little bit similar to Russ, anyways.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I think either Russ gets traded or Jameis Winston gets traded. There's no way. No way.
I don't think they'll trade Russ. I think they might cut Winston. I think they
They
might.
could cut DeVito for all we know.
Yeah. So, all right. Um,
Because no
that's
more Drew
awesome.
Lock.
So the Titans are back on the board, and I think there's only one way that they should go here. And I think that they should go grab Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa State.
That guy
I
balled
think
out this
he's
year.
I think he's awesome. I think that he's actually one of the better wide receivers in the draft anyways. I wouldn't be shocked if he hops into the end of the first round, but get Cam Ward another weapon because his
Yeah,
favorite receivers can't consistently be Treylon Burks and Calvin Ridley.
yeah, he smoked Utah's defense this year, dude.
Oh, he was crazy.
He was crazy. Both of them were.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think of the receivers for the Jaguars right now because they have Gabe Davis
They have
and
Marshall,
oh, that's right,
and he's a stud.
And Brian Thomas.
Or Brian Thomas, that's the one I was thinking of, not Marshall.
Who the hell's Marshall?
Terrace Marshall played for the LSU Tigers too, but he went to the Panthers a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But Brian Thomas is who I really meant.
Okay. I cannot think of any other Jaguars receivers on the top of my head, so I think they go receiver here, and then the other Iowa State guy goes here.
There you go. Back to back
Jalen
Iowa
Noel.
States. I love it. Okay. The Raiders, uh, I think that they're pissed that they couldn't get Genty, and I think they go not Travion Henderson, but I think they go for the other Ohio State receiver running back, and they get Judkins because I think
Wow.
Judkins is a little bit more Marshawn Lynch-esque, and Pete Carroll succeeds with those bigger running backs. So might as well go get their guy, and the Patriots are back on the clock.
Hmm. I think this is where Judkins goes because they need to run. I don't know. Actually, let me think about this for a second. Let me pray about this for a second.
Well, let's see. There's still plenty of good players
Oh,
here.
they do need a center because David Andrews is gone. So I'm gonna go the guy out of Alabama. So go back up.
Booker.
Tyler Booker, yeah.
Okay.
He had a great year for Bama this year.
Yeah.
Even though
Sweet.
Bama was not the greatest this year, but
So now I get to make back-to-back picks for the Bears, like Zach had to make yesterday. Um,
and the Bengals.
I
I did do the Bengals yesterday too
yeah.
because you traded
So
with me.
I think that they need a lot of help too, and I think that they get nervous that they might get their guy taken, even though there's. But I think with Cleveland here, you have to be mindful, and I think they take Travion Henderson. So you have two Iowa State guys and two Ohio State guys going in the second round. I just think they want to make sure that even though they have sandwich picks here, Cleveland will need a running back soon. So I wouldn't mind the Bears getting their guy.
Yeah,
I think Swift is all right, but I think that they need to move off of him sometime soon, and you might as well get a younger guy in there.
there might be a chance they do it again this year because they did it
Right,
last year
right,
when the Phillies traded him to Bears and then
right.
Detroit traded him to Philly during the draft. So who
Exactly.
knows? He's just
Yeah,
draft. He's just a draft back for
yeah,
trades.
yeah,
But I think the Browns do go a corner here just because they missed out on Travis Hunter and they get that guy Maxwell Hairston.
yeah. I like that. Nice. Okay, so the Bears are back on the clock. Whoa. Um. ah.
I don't really. They don't need a tight end, do they?
I
Cole
mean,
Kmet.
commits. Eh.
Yeah.
Here's where I think that they might go. They've already addressed two of their needs, and I think that you get one of the better edge rushers that's still left on the clock, that's still left on the board, and you get Ezraku out of Boston College and help their defensive line there.
Did you figure out how to pronounce it?
I think I just took a shot in the dark there, and I
I
think
think you
I
did
nailed
too.
it.
Oh, Jets, man. Um,
JTS.
shoot. This is a tough one because they need everything except for running back and a quarterback and receivers because they got Garrett Wilson and who else?
Garrett Wilson.
They actually might take a receiver here, actually. Hmm.
There are a lot of good guys. Royals, Ayumanner, Beck,
I think
Harris.
Trey Harris would be a great fit for Fields. Honestly, he
Yeah.
had a great year with Dart. Similar play styles to Dart.
Yeah.
Justin Fields is similar to Dart, so I think that's a great pick. I mean, Justin Fields got a cannon. Jackson Dart's got a cannon. Like the Saints are gonna ball out with Dart, and then the Jets are gonna ball out with Trey Harris.
Okay, are you ready for this, my friend?
Yes.
Caleb, I'm sorry. Don't watch this part of the draft. Okay, yes, they need corner, they need defensive help. Yes, we know that. However, Brock Purdy wants big money, and I'm not sure they give it to him because I'm not sure that they want to give him 50 a year. So, that being said, I think that they take the guy who's like as old as Brock Purdy with experience in college, and he doesn't have to start right away, but he's going to put pressure on Purdy, and maybe they give him a shot if Purdy demands too much money. So sorry, Caleb, but I think that I'm going to draft Tyler Shuck here, and I think it's one of those picks because let's be real, everybody. There are always picks in the first and second round that make you go, really? And I think that the Niners eventually aren't going to want to pay Purdy,
Yeah, I agree.
especially if he had a year like last year. You can't keep paying. You can't pay him. The number one thing that is a crutch if you want to be a Super Bowl team is if you pay a B quarterback A money.
Yep.
And I think that Brock Purdy's a B quarterback and he wants A money. Yes, he went to a Super Bowl, but look at that roster.
Yeah, it's
It's
atrocious.
not really because of him. So there you go. Tyler Shuck at 43 to the Niners.
Ooh, Dallas needs some D-line help, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Walter Nolan goes here.
Yeah. I think you only want him to go down so much.
Hmm.
Ugh, I don't like drafting for the Colts either, man.
Dude, it sucks, right?
Yeah. Let's see who's on the board here. Jackson could be good. Score. You know what? Go Tigers. I think that they do need a tight end. Um, their receiver group is fine, but giving your quarterback, whoever it ends up being, giving your quarterback another kind of like I said with Tyler Warren, you have a little bit of that safety blanket where you can just kind of get it to him and get 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. And Mason Taylor's a really good tight end. So I think uh, this is the second round is really where I feel like you start to see these kind of picks where it's like it's not always BPA because after that first round, you are now going to guys that you have anything like maybe you have a first round grade on Mason Taylor because you knew you drafted at 14, you know?
Right.
So Mason Taylor. And I got an A plus. That was cool. All right.
All right.
You, the Falcons.
I think this is the most simplest pick ever. You lost Justin Fields, or not Justin Fields, Justin Simmons in free agency.
Yeah.
But by the way, I think he's going to go to a contender, by the way. Um, so I think you replace Justin Simmons with Nick and Manroy.
There we go.
Manroy.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
So and pair him up next to Jesse Bates, who's a great mentor. He's young still. He's like
Yeah.
28,
Love
29.
it.
So I think that's a great duo there, and where Jesse Bates can also help
Yeah.
Nick and
Love that.
Manroy.
Okay. The Cardinals back on the clock. They did take Jahdae Barron, which I think was a great pick for them at the time. Uh, I, I think that they do need. I think they need defensive help. Who's on the board? Yeah, no. Um, you know what? I think Scorton is all right. But I
Hmm.
think one guy who really impressed a lot of people, who I think will go earlier anyways, is Jack
Jack Sawyer.
Sawyer, the
Yep.
edge rusher out of
Yep.
Ohio State. I think he's a baller. I know Elijah really talked a lot about him.
Yeah, he was really, really high on him.
Yeah, so I think
So
Jack Sawyer, I think they'd be happy. Look, Scorton's good, but I just think that Sawyer, when you play at that level and you play in those big caliber games and you show out, it bumps your stock up.
okay. I think this is where the Dolphins take an O lineman. So that way
Yeah.
Tua doesn't keep throwing up signs. So I think this is where Gray's Apple goes.
Yeah.
Protect Tua because I know
Yeah.
their O line's kind of lost some pieces with
Tua
Armstead
turned the ball
retiring.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's where
Okay.
they get an lineman right there is that North Dakota State guy. He's a really great player, like lineman. He held one of their quarterbacks break Carson Wentz's record. So
Yeah. By the way, do you want me to just can I take these next two so you can have Denver's?
yeah, I was about to say like you can take these
Yeah.
next two if you
I already
want.
know who you're taking there anyway, so
Who? Who?
I won't say it
Fine.
because I don't want to spoil the surprise. Um, look, they need a lot of help, and I do think that they need O-line help, but I think that they continue to strengthen their defense, and I think that they take Tyleik Williams, the defensive lineman from Ohio State again, just because they need their defense is what let them down. Their offensive line isn't great, but I think if you have Burrow Chase, like I
Hmm.
think you're okay. And regardless of how the O line is, I think you won't succeed unless your defense can help you maintain leads and not have to get in shootouts every game.
Yep.
I just realized though that I told you that I am going back to back. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I they could go they could go a lot of different ways here, but I think that the smart pick is just go arguably BPA for you, and take Donovan Jackson, another Ohio State guy. Ohio State's feasting in this round at this point, but you got to protect Sam Darnold. We saw what he did with a good offensive line and good receivers, so I think protect Darnold and go
Yep.
with Donovan Jackson.
If you didn't pick him there, I was gonna pick him for Seattle next pick. So
Yeah,
okay. Get Bo next to receiver. Gonna get his adopted brother, Tez Johnson. I don't think that's a reach. I think Tez Johnson is a really underrated receiver. Although
I
he's
agree.
small, he
Yeah,
is very underrated route runner, and
yes.
he's really a really good route runner. So I
And
think
I would almost put like money on this pick to happen just because I think that it's just a given.
and a lot of NFL teams are saying he's too small. And I just watched that like when we took our break before we finished the first round, I watched the video of Tez Johnson saying that Bo Nix's dad in like the next 10 years, they're gonna say that kid is so good. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly think that Tez Johnson will go here.
Yeah. Okay. And now
I
you get to go
hope.
back to back because we'll go back to how we were.
Okay. I think that the Eagles or not Eagles, stupid birds.
The birds.
The birds. I think that Nick Gorton goes here. Jack
Yeah.
Sawyer's off the board already. If Jack Sawyer was not on the board, I think that Sawyer would be this pick for the Seattle Seahawks because they
Yeah.
do need that edge help. Pair him next to Leonard Williams, dude.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Okay, cool. I think that there's really only for me, I mean, let's see who's left here.
I mean, you're picking for a rival, so you could just like do a really bad
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah, but I won't. I think Siobhan Ravel, if he's gone this far down, I think you need corner help
Hmm.
for Tampa. And if he's come this far down, you might as well take him.
Oh, both of these corners are so like I'm gonna pick a corner here for the Packers because they need that corner. Pair up next to Jair Alexander. We
Here I
still got one
have.
more. There you go. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, these guys are good.
Dude, a lot of these guys are still also like, by the way, shout out. I think Kobe Bryant's gonna be so good. And
Dude, now he's
he's like,
underrated.
oh yeah. But
He's
anyways,
underrated.
there's still
Um,
a lot of really good guys here.
both of these guys are really good. Um, oh, I think you would take just best available for a
Yeah.
corner when Benjamin Morrison. Like
Okay.
there's such a big debate between these two guys. Like it's tough. So,
Yeah. All right. Now I think that they need a tight end here. Yeah, there are some defensive lineman players who are pretty solid, but this player has been going up on draft boards, not necessarily on this board. Um, but I've been hearing a lot about him, and he sounds like he's going to be a stud. So give me the Bowling Green tight end, Harold Fannin
ooh,
Jr. I think this dude's a stud. The only reason that he's not higher is because he played at Bowling Green.
yeah.
But I think if he was even at a Big 12 school or whatever, I think he'd be way up there. So Harold Fannin Jr.
All right, this is where I'm gonna take Azariah
Yeah,
ish
yeah.
Thomas
Even with
because
Tre'Davious White coming back, they still
mhm,
need him.
yeah, and especially that how young their corners are too. I mean, you
Yeah.
got Rasul Douglas. That's your slot guy though, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Like he's a nickel slot guy.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to stick in the slot, and I think that you put Thomas in that secondary, deep
Yeah.
secondary, versus like who's the receiver I can think of? Garrett Wilson, Stephon Diggs, who's on the Patriots now.
Hmm.
So put Tre'Davious White on their number one guy, and then put Thomas on the number two guy.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna give Carolina a receiver here. They need
Hmm.
it. I don't think that they could have gone T Mac, but I feel like Jalen Walker was too good for them to pass up.
Yep.
So you know what though? Jack Beck is awesome, but I think Alec Ironman
Yeah.
is a stud and he's a big bodied receiver who is going to be a really good help for Bryce Young. So
Hmm.
Iron Manor goes at 57.
I would have drafted the line there. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
but okay. I was about to say is that the top? Okay. Okay. You took an offensive tackle for the Texans, so I'm not gonna do that. I think they bolster their linebacker edge. Let me look at linebackers real quick because I know some of these guys can play edge. Okay, go out edge. Hmm. I'm gonna reach a little bit with JT.
Okay.
He had a really
Yeah.
great season with Ohio State this year, across from Jack Sawyer. So I
Dude,
think that's
literally
smart.
this second round is the Ohio State round.
Yep, literally.
Yeah. Okay, love it. So Baltimore, they got Watts in the beginning, and I think what they'll just do is because they couldn't get I think they wanted Tuimalo, and I think they're gonna take Princely. Uh I'm not gonna try that. I've heard his name, but I'm not going to try it. But he had a really good season with Ole Miss. Definitely one of their better defensive players. He and Trey Amos led the way there, and I think help out their edge a little bit. Uh, I do think that Landon Jackson's good, but I just feel
Mhm.
like Princely is a little bit better, especially playing, in the SEC, but like for a bigger school and having to play some of those bigger games.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, only a few picks left.
Yeah. So Lions, I think, are going to bolster their O line here because they lost Kevin Zeitler because he's only on a 1 year deal. I think he
Do you
was.
want interior or do you want tackles?
Tackles because Zeitler is a tack. No, he's a guard. Wait. No, you can put him at you can put him at guard. But I'm going to take Air Siri here. Air
Yeah,
Siri.
Ursary. Yeah.
Air Siri. So I think that's a smart pick for the Bill or the Lions, not the Bills.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm
So
like jumping
now
ahead.
I think that's when Landon Jackson goes. If he makes it this far
Yep.
down, you might as well address that need and get Landon Jackson to Washington.
And now
Okay.
this is where I think that Carson Schwessinger goes here
Whoa.
because you can they need that linebacker help, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Because Von Miller's getting old. They're moving him more to an end anyway. So
Right.
that's where I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
that linebacker.
Awesome. This is where I think you need to get Patrick Mahomes another weapon.
Hmm.
Um, mm, yeah. So there are a lot of good receivers left here. Um, but I think just go with your gut and what your gut is telling you. And their gut might say Jack Beck.
Hmm.
My gut says Kyle Williams, the wide receiver out of Washington State.
Okay.
This
Okay.
guy, because he's playing in the Pac-12, the Pac-2, whatever, I
Hmm.
don't think he got as much looks. Jalen Royals is also a stud. He tore up Utah in the Utah State game. Um, but
I don't
I
know if he
think
won that, but
he just kind of gives me the vibes of a Kansas City player. He's going to be one of those guys where it's like you haven't really heard of him, and then you hear about him, and then
hmm.
like you're like, oh wow, he's really good. So who are
Um,
you going to take for the Eagles to wrap it all up?
I think that the Eagles take a lineman here, protect Jalen
Mhm.
Hurts, continue to protect Jalen Hurts, and they go get Jonah
Yeah,
because they don't need a running back at all.
sweet.
So.
And it is loading our draft results, I guess. So
Do, 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 do.
we can just see how we did. All right, guys, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to go through every team, but we'll go through our picks for our favorite teams really quick. So if you want to talk about your Broncos picks, go for it.
Yeah. Uh, Running back is a big need for the Broncos. Obviously, losing Javante Williams. We still have Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime, but I don't think Audric or Jaleel is an answer right now. I think they need more time to develop. Although Jaleel had a great year as a running back, like a passing backer, like yeah, passing back catch, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. I think he's going to stick to that role, and they need to get a power back like in Genti
Yeah,
or Junkins because I think he's also a power back in
yeah.
this draft. And then Tez Johnson just getting another route runner. We need the
And
route
Bo Nix
runner.
familiarity.
And Bo Nix familiarity, I think it's going to be like Marvin Mims, Vele, and Cortland Sutton, Johnson,
Yeah,
Troy Flink can rotate in. So
nice.
I think it's the simplest thing. And then what I was trying to do is trying to get a D line just because DJ Jones is getting old, and I think it's good to have just kind of a contingency backup plan, you know?
Yeah,
So
sweet. I'll quickly wrap up with the Saints. I took Tyler Warren at 9 and just stayed there, and then I traded up to 33 with the Browns because in our draft they took Shador, so just needed to get ahead of the Giants there just in case, and took Jackson Dart. Look, Tyler Warren is a one of one blue chip prospect. I think he's a baller, and he is going to help Jackson Dart big time. Like I said, as a safety blanket, just give him the ball, see what you can do, and give Kellen Moore another offensive piece. And look, Jackson Dart, I think, is arguably the second or third best quarterback in the draft. You could argue between him and Shador. I think some of the negativity surrounding Dart isn't legit. I feel like he's a way better player than what a lot of people are giving him credit for. And so yeah, I would be really happy if this was how it goes. So yeah, that is our mock draft, and that's pretty much our podcast. So shout out to you guys for watching. If you did, we're not back for good, like we said, but really enjoyed doing this, and yeah, we will catch you whenever we catch you. Okay, peace out, guys. Thanks.
hi guys.